Hey, soccer fans and Chicago Fire fans. Welcome back to the Feed the Fire podcast. I'm your host, Nick. Thank you all for tuning in again. It's been about a week since our last episode. Apologies for not putting out a little bit more content. I'm very happy to have heard from a lot of fans asking, hey, when's the next show coming out? Or seeing our month of July numbers and how well the show is doing. So thank you to everyone who's written in, who's been listening, viewing on YouTube as well, for helping the show grow, for helping the conversation around the team and Major League Soccer grow as well. I really do appreciate it. I have actually been away studying for some licensing exams that I need to take for work, so finally got a little bit of free time here on this wonderful Friday, August 1st, new month. Kalomina, good new month, as we say in Greek, and just wanted to get back talking soccer, catching up on a few things from last week, and looking ahead a little bit around Major League Soccer. The Chicago Fire have the weekend off due to the League's Cup break, and we will talk about League's Cup a little bit as well. First thing we need to follow up on is the Chicago Fire's pursuit of Patrick Berg from Bodo Glimt over in Norway. And we talked about him last episode. I looked him up on FBref, kind of gave a breakdown of what his numbers suggest to me. And I said things like he's a defensive machine, he's got amazing stats, except I don't think he would be a DP in this league. And for the Fire to pay him a DP salary and to take up that third DP roster spot, probably not the best roster building move. Now, I am starting to reconsider that position. However, since that time, it has been reported that the move is off for Patrick Berg, that his current club, Bodo Glimt, valued him $3 million more than what the Chicago Fire would have been willing to pay for him. According to Alex Calabresi, they were asking for a fee far above his actual value, and while Berhalter loves the player, the difference in evaluation was about $3 million. The Fire are moving on to other DP targets now. But as we all know, you never take the first offer. There's still potential during the summer transfer window to get this deal done. And why I'm saying that, and why I'm not just saying, it's off, let's move on, is because I got a great message from one of our listeners in Denmark who actually follows Bodo Glimt, who knows a little bit about the player. And I was kind of scratching my head saying, like, wow, we're starting to get some listens over in Denmark. And obviously, with Philip Zinkernagel signing and doing so well here over in MLS, it's no surprise that back in his home country, he's getting people to tune in and generating some buzz there. So one of our Denmark listeners who knows Zinkernagel, who knows Patrick Berg and their game, wrote me and said, hey, these are just some insights of mine on the player. He's been following Berg since 2018, he's exactly what the Fire needs and would be a MLS best number 6. Also would elevate the locker room. So he says he's a very professional player, great character guy, good locker room guy, as well as everything he does on the field. And he calls me out for doubting whether he would be good enough in MLS coming over from the Norwegian League. He says, go back and watch the Europa League matches where Bodo Glimt plays against Lazio, Man United, and Olympiacos, and see how well Berg plays in those games and how he controls the games. In addition, our Danish friend and listener says that even though the Fire would need to upgrade their center back position, having Berg provide that cover as a defensive midfielder would go a long way. And also, he played with Philip Zinkernagel from 2018 and 2020 before Zinkernagel went to Watford, so there would be a little bit of a connection there already. So from the overseas scouting report, from the info that I'm getting from our Danish listener, thank you so much for writing in and having the conversation with me. This player definitely has a lot more than what I initially saw based on statistical analysis and review and just kind of my preconceived notions of where the Norwegian League is in comparison to Major League Soccer. So, again, if they can get him for the right valuation, for the right amount of money that they're willing to pay, I don't think there's any way the Chicago Fire would ever get Patrick Berg for less than a designated player slot. I don't think the way his fee the fee that they would have to pay, unless they sign him for some like 10-year deal and they can distribute the fee across all those years of the deal, they could get him down to a potential international or TAM player. But I doubt that would ever be the case. I don't know why a player would sign such a long contract as well in international soccer right now. But he would be a designated player. But if he is everything that he is reported to be by our overseas scout and listener here, then perhaps it would be worth it, and it would put the Fire over the top and ensure that they're a lock in the playoff picture. They have... so that's the latest there. The negotiations are off as far as what's been reported, because the Fire are valuing this player's transfer fee not as high as his home club. So we'll see. Maybe there's future things to go off of. Now, it wouldn't be a summer transfer window without additional rumors that the Chicago Fire are linked to different players around the country. Just kind of doing an internet search for Chicago Fire transfer rumors, there's a few things that pop up. If you go to the ever popular and surprisingly accurate website Transfer Market, under the Chicago Fire team page on the rumors area, it shows that they are rumored to be looking at Pedro Ramirez, who is a 25-year-old central midfielder from Argentina. He is currently in the Argentine first tier with Club Deportivo Riestra as a center mid there. He has a valuation of 600,000 euros according to Transfer Market's website. And so it's interesting to see if they are looking to bolster their midfield a little bit. Let's see. He does look to be more of a defensive midfielder, and we'll have to keep an eye on him further if there's any reporting coming out from any of the U.S. sources. Something to keep in mind, or if you guys want to get ahead of the curve, go look up Pedro Ramirez from Argentina. Also, the Chicago Fire have been linked with Jacques Ekome, a Gabonese from Gabon defender. He's 21 years old. He's also been linked to Real Betis and Hoffenheim. His current club is Angers SCO. In France is Ligue 1, Ligue 1, and they are supposedly looking for $1 million transfer fee to release the player who's under contract through 2027 or until 2027. So you get a couple years of contract control, and hopefully you can renegotiate with him upon signing. He's a 21-year-old left back, so a position of need, outside back for the Chicago Fire. When Gutman is healthy, he's the starter. When Barroso is healthy and fit, he's the starter. And then you have an off-injured Chase Gasper in the mix, and then you have Jonathan Dean, of course, in the mix. Now, when the Chicago Fire are hunting for trophies, is Jonathan Dean a quality outside back that is going to help keep that team winning trophies and in contention for trophies? Maybe, maybe not. We've seen his game improve. We've seen him hang in MLS for a lot longer than a lot of people gave him credit for. And I always looked at him as just a great value player, picking him up from the USL and playing on near minimum salary contracts here. But having another left back like Jacques Ekome would really bolster their depth at outside back, would help competition at the position, would help them from an investment standpoint. You've got a young Leo Barroso, you've got a young Jacques Ekome, and one of those or both of them, if you develop them into quality MLS starters, you're looking to recover through transfer anything you've expended on them in these 2-3 years coming up. So it's an investment. It's a kind of depth move now if this ends up actually getting done. However, it is reported that Hoffenheim appears to be leading the negotiations with the player wanting to play in the Bundesliga. He has a current market value of 800,000 euros, according to Transfer Market. And this brief summary was from the website transferfeed.com. And let's see if there's any other rumors here from this website with the Chicago Fire. No, the last ones they've posted are about Carlos Terán going to Lens and De Bruyne coming to Chicago. So not much going on that website. Here's one. I don't know how much time I want to give it. Probably not much, because according to AfricaSoccer.com, oh, wait a minute. This is an old article. Oh, I gotta I gotta look at my search parameters much better. 10 years ago, apparently the Fire were interested in signing Didier Drogba, but yeah, we know that didn't happen. Okay, sorry, I got excited there for a minute that we were going to get some, old vet, but that's not happening clearly. Man, I gotta do some better internet searching. My head's just not on straight this morning. Anyway, let's take a look back now that we've had our transfer fun. And if anyone else has any targets rumors, please let me know. glasshouseSoccer@gmail.com. I think we've seen that with these rumors to Jacques Comier and with the reports that the Fire have made offers for Patrick Berg, you can see they're looking more on the defensive side of things, which is exactly where they need to, because let's just pull the standings up here real quick. The Chicago Fire have scored 45 goals so far this season in 24 games. They have the third highest goals scored in the Eastern Conference and fourth highest goals scored in the league. Now, they've done it on 24 games. Miami leads the way, 49 goals in 22 games, and then it's San Diego with 48 goals in 25 games. Also, Philadelphia in the mix, 43 goals in 25 games. Nashville, 42 goals. Oh, wait, where am I? I'm jumping all over the place here. I don't have my head on. Anyway, so the Chicago Fire, fourth overall in the league on number of goals scored, third in the East on number of goals scored. Goals allowed, though, they have allowed the fourth most goals in the East, and in the West, there are four teams who have allowed more goals than them. Galaxy, Kansas City, Dallas, San Jose. St. Louis has also allowed the same amount of goals as the Fire. But in the Eastern Conference, it's DC, Montreal, and Atlanta. So if you look at it from a purely goals allowed standpoint, Chicago is with the bottom of the league in their defensive performance here. Now, is some of it on Brady? He's learning how to play with his feet. Is some of it on the system? They're playing out of the back, and they were learning. They were giving up goals early. Is some of it on just the quality of player? Right, we've seen that the outside back position has been in flux for the last couple of years for the Fire. We've seen the center back position be just riddled with injuries this season for the Fire, except for Jack Elliott. Knock on wood. So all of that goes into the mix. So the Fire are clearly focusing on defense, given the links to defensive mid Patrick Berg and defender, the defender from Gabon. So something to keep a lookout. If you guys know any good defenders you want to see, or potentially is there an in-league transfer that is out there right now? Oh my goodness, who did I tweet about that was brought up as a free agent? Donovan Pines. That's who I was thinking of. Donovan Pines is currently a free agent without a club. Last played, I thought he played with Portland for a while, but if I recall correctly, or maybe I'm just confusing Pines with the Timbers there, and I absolutely am. Yeah, he came up with DC United's youth team, played for DC United for 4 years, was on loan to Loudoun United for a brief spell there. This last year, he'd been playing with Barnsley over in the English League One third tier. So, but is no longer with them, at least from what I am seeing online, and he could be a good guy to come in. I mean, they already signed Omar Gonzalez. I don't believe Gonzalez is going to be playing here for any time after the season. Maybe he sticks around and starts his coaching career here. Who knows? But Donovan Pines, solid MLS player, was able to make the move to England, albeit at a much lower division than I'm sure he would have liked, or that his fans would have liked. But that is something to consider, Chicago Fire fans, a guy to bring in if we can't get any of these outside backs signed, or any of the big D mids signed, depending on our roster flexibility. And because he is a free agent, from what I believe, from what I'm reading here, you don't have to sign him during the transfer window. You can bring him in at any point in time during the season. Okay, let's take a look now back at some of the on-the-field performances from the Fire rather than what's been going on off the field here. Their last match feels like forever ago at this point, July 26th, a 1-0 victory over the New York Red Bulls. Hugo Kuipers converts the PK in the 44th minute to get them the only goal that they need on the day. I really thought they were going to give one up, but they kept their third fourth clean sheet on the season, and their second clean sheet in a victory. So the defense, as much as we were talking about the defense letting in goals, they held on. They did just enough in this match. I had all my cousins at the game. It was great. There was 5 of us. We had a great time in Section 205. Lots of fun. Kudos to my cousin Corey, who is not into soccer but loves sports, will go to live matches and will just jump in and participate. And he was having all sorts of creative heckles and fun and chants and things. So it was great to have him there. If you heard any kookiness from Section 205, that's cousin Corey, without a doubt. But it was a great win. The Fire should have done a lot more offensively, and we'll break down the stats. A lot of opportunities in that first half, and again, it was one of those, oh man, is one goal going to be enough tonight, especially when we missed 3 early chances? I don't know. Let's talk about it a little bit more. So starting in goal, Chris Brady, and across the back line, Gutman, Turan, Elliott, and Barroso. It was nice to see Carlos Turan back. First match that he has played since April. Knew he'd be on limited minutes, so it was just a matter of, is he going to be able to keep pace? Is he going to remember the physicality? Is he going to re-aggravate an injury? Like, there was a lot going on, a lot to watch with Carlos Turan, but he played extremely well. His defensive marking and positioning was great. He was definitely back up to fitness. Physicality was there, and even early on, he ripped a shot that just found the outside netting in that first half. I think it came off of a corner kick that kind of got cleared, and he just one-timed it and ripped it from about 23 yards out. And man, when he did that, I was like, okay, we're good. Turan is back. He's feeling good. Nice to see Barroso back in the mix. He's a young player. He's still learning a little bit more of that one-on-one defending. I think, I kind of look at him and see him like a Serginho Dest, like such great attacking talent from the wingback position, but you're still a wingback. You still got to play a little defense. So he's learning that a little bit. And but an admirable game. New York Red Bull, they love that offense. It's going to be turnover, get possession, and then they want to get a shot off within 2 passes. So he had to be on his toes, he had to be ready, and he was up to the challenge. Across the midfield, we saw Sergio Orahel, Brian Gutierrez, and Jay Davila. And this game, as good as Orahel and Gutierrez played, oh man, Guti had a couple ones that just went begging wide of the post. Or Cornell was able to get had a quick foot kick save on one of Guti's deflections. Davila actually really played well today. He wasn't making silly fouls. He was not being overly physical or clumsy. I think he's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, that is going to obviously come with time and playing with your teammates, but he's also getting the confidence of the coaching staff, it seems. In a huge game like this that has conference standing implications, we already lost to Red Bull earlier. We can't drop 2 games and expect to jump them in the playoffs. They had the trust in Jay to go out and have a good game, and he did. As a matter of fact, in the locker room post-game, Jay got the game ball from Greg Berhalter. So you could tell that his confidence is growing with his teammates and from the coaching staff. And even when he accepted the game ball, the little video they put out on social media, like he had no words. He was just so happy to be recognized for having that great game. And a lot of people have been critical of him. I've been critical of him that he just seems to look lost at times and just clumsy. But this game, he deserves praise. He really helped control the midfield from a defensive perspective. And then, of course, up front, Bamba, Kuipers, and Zinkernagel, the attacking 3. Kuipers, man, I get frustrated in a good way for Kuipers. Like, I get upset for him because he works his tail off. He's always making runs. He's always moving and floating around in the box in the offensive third. And when he doesn't get service, or when his shot gets saved or just goes wide, I feel for him. Or when his teammate can't find him immediately when he's making that run, I just feel for him because of his work rate. I love it. But he's able to draw the penalty kick, which, to be honest, my first look from being in the stands, I'm like, that's not a penalty. The defender slid through. It wasn't like the defender had his hands up and the ball got chipped up into his hands. The defender had his hands on his sides, slide tackled to clear the ball away from Kuipers on the touchline. But upon replay, you see the defender's arm come off his body just a little bit, even if it's just his hand, and that's what guides the ball out of bounds, not his body, not his legs. So, yes, he did make himself unnaturally bigger, not by a lot, but enough where that's what affected the ball and brought it out of play. And I'll give Kuipers a lot of credit. Like, he could have just played a quick pullback and see who was there. He could have blasted a shot from a bad angle at net. He took the extra touch to get the defender to go down and slide, and he was either trying to chip it back over him or maybe cut it back and go around him. Worst case scenario, he wins a corner. Best case scenario, he gets a goal out of it because he was able to win the PK. So that was fantastic work from Kuipers. And then to see things through at the end of the game, we see Jonathan Dean, Omar Gonzalez, Romanique Kwame, Mauricio Pinedo, and Marin Haile Selassie all sub in on this one to see the game out. So that was, again, the Fire should have had a couple early. They kept pressing. Kuipers creates the goal, and the defense holds in the second half. So excellent work. So here's the stats breakdown. Fire had 49% possession, 13 shots, 6 on goal, as opposed to New York, who had 10 shots, 3 on goal. 2 block shots for the Fire, 494 total passes at an 89.1% passing accuracy. If you've noticed, their passing accuracy has gone way up this season based on their style of play. I think, yes, they are making better choices as individuals, and we have a better team, both as an individual talent perspective, as an overall team perspective. However, this style of play that they are finally starting to be a little more comfortable in, this building possession out of the back, and then also having the option to quick counter when they recognize things on the field, or at least quick switches, long switches, high percentage passes. So they are making high percentage passes, they're attempting high percentage passes, they're completing high percentage passes, and it's resulting in a much better possession game and a much better passing game for the Fire. Now, again, the challenge is we need to turn that into offensive goal scoring opportunities. The Fire only had a 1.1 XG this game, and again, I think you're getting a 0.8 to a 0.9 XG based on the PK, and that leaves only a 0.2 or a 0.3 for all the other shots that they generated. So 12 other shots, including 5 other shots on goal than the PK, you're still only getting a 0.2 again. So very low percentage shots from a statistical standpoint that the Fire were taking. Though, you know, the deflection by Gutierrez, the redirect by Gutierrez, or his shot that just kind of curled wide of the post, or Turan's blast off of a corner that didn't get cleared out well, those are all shots that I'm not upset with. Those are the ones that you've got to take to keep the defense honest. Those are the ones where, like Turan's blast, if that takes a weird deflection through traffic, or if it's totally clear and just inside that near post, keeper's not making the save on that. That was a rocket. That was a missile. So I am not saying that the Fire are taking bad shots all the time. But when they are able to build some possession, they are either settling for low percentage shots or unable to make that extra pass or that key pass to set up a high percentage shot. All right, moving on with our statistics. Brady is credited with 3 saves, Cornell credited with 5 saves, so that's pretty good. The Fire ended up with 5 total crosses, 1 offside. They won 6 aerial duels, so not a lot of ball movement in the air. Red Bulls ended up winning 8 aerial duels on that one. Fire defense had 9 clearances, 5 fouls, no yellow cards. Very, very well played there. The Red Bulls had the bulk of the possession the last 5 minutes of that first half into extra time, which really had me scared that they were going to press and get that equalizer after the late Kuipers first half PK. But in the second half, possession kind of ebbed and flowed, and it was the Fire defense who were able to see the game out. So, well played by the Chicago Fire. Good game plan. Still need a little bit more of that offense, but the Chicago Fire, with that result, have now moved up into the 9th spot in the Eastern Conference playoff standings. They're sitting on 35 points, 2 ahead of 10th place Red Bulls, 10 ahead of 11th place New England. So, it's going to take a lot for the Fire to end up potentially falling to that 11 spot, or for New England to move up into the playoff picture. So really, it's the Chicago Fire against the New York teams here They are 3 points behind New York City and 3 points behind Charlotte, who are in the 7 and who's in the 7th spot there. The Fire do have a game in hand on Charlotte and Red Bulls, which is good. New York City has the same amount of games played as Chicago, 24. Can the Fire, if they end up winning the next couple games, then and I think one of them is against New York City. Why can't I remember my schedule here? Gosh, Leagues Cup shows up, and I am just all over the place with my MLS talk here. The Chicago Fire in September will play a home match against New York City. So that's going to have huge implications. Their August schedule is home against LAFC, home against St. Louis, away to Philly, away to Miami. So they need to win these Western Conference games at home, because those games at Philly and Miami are going to be extremely difficult. I'm looking for them to have a good September. Home versus New England, home versus New York, at Minnesota, and home versus Columbus. By that time, I would say Columbus is going to have a lock on the top 4 spot, so maybe they rotate a little bit, giving the Fire an edge, unless they're going for a supporter shield type of a run here. They're 6 points behind Philly at this point, so that would be a little bit of a tall order. However, it's potential for that, depending on how Leagues Cup goes. And then the Fire close the season at home against Toronto and at New England. So hopefully they can take 6 points in their last 2 games to kind of give them a little bit of cushion or a little bit of safety getting into one of those playing games, or potentially getting into that 7th spot. I don't know if they'll be able to overcome Orlando and Miami, who are currently in the 5th and 6th spot on 41 and 42 points respectively. So I'm looking at the Fire to finish reasonably 7th or 8th, with a lot of luck 6th, maybe 7th. So that's where I'm looking at the standings right now. A couple other things from this match. Jack Elliott named to Team of the Match Day for his performance against Red Bulls. Again, only allowing very scant offensive numbers for Red Bulls, frustrating Emil Forsberg and the rest of the Red Bulls team. So that's his 2nd week in the row that he makes Team of the Match Day. Congrats to Captain Jack. All right, let's quickly take a look at Leagues Cup now that we're moving into the final segment here of our show. Leagues Cup 2025, the league put out a fan guide, everything that the team needs to know. There's 36 clubs competing, 18 selected MLS teams, and all 18 Liga MX sides. The tournament runs from July 29th to August 31st. All games are on MLS Season Pass. Here's what they're playing for. If you haven't been watching, and if you haven't been hearing the broadcasters talk about it, here is what these teams are playing for in this tournament. Not only are you getting the trophy, prize money, and bragging rights, there are 3 spots in the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup awarded to both the finalists, and the winner of the 3rd place match. And obviously the CONCACAF Champions Cup, prestigious North American tournament, expanded recently, allows for qualification into the FIFA Club World Cup. The final will take place August 31st. And as far as participation goes, like I said, 18 select MLS teams. Because in kind of agreeing that there is a lot of schedule congestion, the league has said that MLS clubs will only be playing in 2 tournaments rather than all 3. US Open Cup, Leagues Cup, and CONCACAF Champions Cup, or any other sort of tournament or thing that's going on, Canadian Championship, things of that nature. So we know with the Chicago Fire, they participated in US Open Cup, but the teams that participating in Leagues Cup: Atlanta, Charlotte, Cincinnati, Colorado, Columbus, Houston, Miami, both LA teams, Montreal, Minnesota, both New York teams, Orlando, Portland, Salt Lake, San Diego, and Seattle. Now, Phase 1, it's a new format for this tournament. Phase 1 will only have games featuring MLS clubs against Liga MX clubs. This gets away from the grouping. This gets away from kind of the hub thing from before. You will only play teams from the other league. Your 3 MLS clubs will play against 3 Liga MX clubs. They will compete for points to see who then moves on to the knockout round. 3 for a win, 2 points for a PK win, 1 point for a draw. So again, similar to hockey, you're going to get the point for a draw. You immediately go into your shootout, and then the winning team gets the second point. So similar to Phase 1, once you get into the knockouts, all quarterfinal contests will feature MLS versus Liga MX matchups. So the top MLS team in their competition, the first 3 games against Liga MX, will face off against the 4th best Liga MX team, and so on. MLS 2 plays Liga MX 3, MLS 3 Liga MX 2, MLS 4 Liga MX 1. And then they will move on to the semi-final matches. At this point, the leagues don't matter. Whoever survives that first round of knockouts will advance. And in the knockout stages, tied matches go straight to penalty shootouts. It is single elimination. So that's the setup. I really like this. I think it kind of evens things out a little bit. It's really what the tournament wants, and it's the Liga MX versus MLS. It's not Liga MX isn't going to take it seriously this year. MLS is going to win it all, and then MLS has to worry about being tired, but then Liga MX gets mad because they get all the bonuses for it. So you get rid of a lot of those arguments, because it evens the opportunities for teams to compete cross-league as well as to advance into the knockout stage. I like seeing these random matchups. Like, what games have we seen so far? Toluca beats Columbus on PKs. Montreal beats León on PKs. Puebla smokes New York. Tigres smokes Houston. LAFC loses to Mazatlan in PKs, 11-10. That's quite the shootout. Pachuca beats San Diego in a close 3-2 game. Miami comes back to score 2 goals and beat Atlas 2-1. When else are you going to see Atlanta play Necaxa, Orlando play Pumas, and Minnesota put a 4-1 beatdown on Querétaro? Club America falling to Salt Lake in PKs, and Portland absolutely stepping on Atlético de San Luis 4-0. You've got Cincinnati beating Monterrey, one of the biggest clubs in the continent, who's always performed well in competitions against MLS and other North American clubs. Then you have Juarez, a club that I didn't think was all that good, beating Charlotte 4-1. Red Bulls beat Chivas 1-0. Colorado with the victory over Santos Laguna, and probably the 2 craziest matches of this first round. Seattle beats Cruz Azul 7-0, and the Galaxy beat Tijuana 5-2. So lots of goals, lots of fun, lots of matchups you'll never see anywhere except Leagues Cup. And again, a little bit more parity between the 2 leagues, the way they have reformatted the schedule. So I've got to start watching it a lot more. Games kick off again tonight, August 1st, Friday, 5 o'clock, New York City hosts León, and then we'll get to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other games after that, and then a full matchup, full lineup on Saturday and Sunday as well. So I hope you guys are enjoying all of that. So with that, again, Fire fans, no game this weekend for the Fire. Enjoy the Leagues Cup. For those of you who got out to see the Premier League matches, I hope you enjoyed it. Man United said that they were absolutely praising all the Chicago Fire facilities. So glad to see that we get some international recognition there. Also, I just want to say my brother-in-law was at that doubleheader as well, so he came out with us to watch the Fire win. Then he got to go see his Red Devils win. Don't worry, I give him plenty of grief for being a Manchester United fan. So with that, thank you all for tuning in, watching, listening. Please like, subscribe, rate, review, share the show, continue to grow the show, and as always, let's go Fire.